The security camera caught Alcarin's manicured nails clawing at my pool cover like a woman possessed, her designer heels slipping on wet concrete as she screamed about property values. What she didn't know was that beneath that cover lay something that would destroy her perfect suburban kingdom forever. By the time the sirens wailed down, the first thing Chen noticed when she pulled into her driveway that Tuesday morning was the silence. After 18 months of construction noise from the Hendersons' pool installation next door, the sudden quiet felt almost oppressive. She grabbed her laptop bag from the passenger seat, inhaling the crisp October air that carried the faint scent of chlorine and dying leaves. The second thing she noticed was Karen Whitmore standing in her backyard, hands on her hips, staring at the new pool cover with an expression that could have curdled milk. Maya's stomach dropped. In the 2 years since she'd moved to Willowbrook Estates, she'd learned to read the warning signs of an approaching Karen storm. The perfectly styled blonde bob trembling with barely contained rage. The Lululemon outfit that somehow managed to look both casual and intimidating. The way her voice could slice through suburban tranquility like a chainsaw through silk. "Maya?" Karen's voice carried across the fence, dividing their properties. "We need to talk now." Maya considered pretending she hadn't heard, but Karen was already marching toward the gate that connected their backyards, a gate that Maya had specifically requested during the fence installation, back when she'd foolishly believed they could be neighborly. "Good morning to you too, Karen." Maya set her bag down on the patio table, steeling herself for whatever fresh hell was about to unfold. Karen burst through the gate like an avenging angel in activewear. "Don't you good morning me? What is that monstrosity covering your pool?" Maya followed Karen's pointing finger to the heavy-duty safety cover stretched taut across the water's surface. The cover was regulation black, designed to prevent accidents and keep debris out during the off-season. Nothing unusual about it. "It's a pool cover, Karen. People tend to use them when it gets cold." "That's not just any pool cover." Karen's voice climbed an octave. "That's an industrial-grade safety cover, the kind they use for public pools and commercial properties." "Do you have any idea what that does to our property values?" Maya blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "This is a residential neighborhood. Maya, we have standards, aesthetic guidelines. That cover makes your backyard look like a municipal water treatment facility." The accusation was so absurd that Maya almost laughed. Almost, but she'd learned not to underestimate Karen's capacity for turning minor inconveniences into neighborhood wars. "Karen, it's temporary. Pool season is over. The cover comes off next spring." "Temporary." Karen's laugh was sharp and humorless. "Do you think I'm stupid? I've done my research. That's a $3,000 automated safety cover system. You don't install something like that temporarily." Maya felt the first flutter of genuine unease. Karen was right. She had done her research. The cover system had been expensive, far more than a standard winter tarp. But Maya had her reasons she wasn't about to share with the neighborhood busybody. "I don't see how my pool cover is any of your business. It becomes my business when it affects the entire neighborhood." Karen pulled out her phone, swiping through what appeared to be a folder full of screenshots. "I've already gotten calls from 3 other families on our street. The Patels are concerned about their home appraisal next month. The Johnsons are worried about selling next spring. And don't get me started on what Marlene Hutchins said at book club yesterday." "You discussed my pool cover at book club. We discussed the declining aesthetic standards in Willowbrook Estates. Your industrial eyesore just happens to be Exhibit A." Maya felt her jaw clench. 2 years of Karen's passive-aggressive comments about her garden choices, her car, her work schedule, her lack of a husband to properly maintain the property, all of it came rushing back in a wave of frustration. "You know what, Karen? I'm done with this conversation. My pool, my property, my choice." Maya turned to go back inside, but Karen's voice stopped her cold. "Actually, it's not entirely your choice. I checked the HOA covenants. Section 12.3 clearly states that any permanent outdoor installations must be approved by the Architectural Review Committee. You never submitted plans for that cover system." The threat hung in the air between them like smoke. Maya turned slowly, studying Karen's face. The woman was practically vibrating with self-righteous satisfaction. "Are you seriously threatening to report me to the HOA over a pool cover?" "I'm not threatening anything. I'm simply informing you of the rules that we all agreed to follow when we chose to live in a community with standards. Standards. Maya repeated the word like it tasted. Bitter? Is that what we're calling your control issues now? Karen's composure cracked, just slightly. A flush crept up her neck, staining her carefully applied foundation. I am not controlling. I'm protecting our neighborhood from people who think rules don't apply to them, right? Like when you tried to get the new gens fined for their butterfly garden because it wasn't cohesive with the neighborhood aesthetic, or when you called code enforcement on the Martinez family for parking their work van in their own driveway. Those were legitimate concerns. They were harassment campaigns. Just like this is, the words hung between them, sharp and accusatory. For a moment, Karen looked genuinely taken aback, as if she'd never considered that her vigilant neighborhood watch activities might be seen as anything other than civic duty. Then her face hardened into familiar lines of indignation. I don't have to stand here and listen to this. The HOA meeting is Thursday night. I suggest you come prepared to explain why you think you're above the rules that everyone else follows. Karen spun on her heel and stalked toward the gate, but Maya's voice stopped her. Karen, there was something in Maya's tone that made the other woman pause. You really don't want to do this. Karen turned back, eyebrows raised. Is that a threat? It's advice, from someone who's trying to be neighborly despite your best efforts. Neighborly. Karen's laugh was sharp. You want to talk about neighborly? Neighborly is considering how your choices affect the people around you. Neighborly is following the rules that keep our community desirable. Neighborly is not installing industrial equipment that makes the rest of us look at your backyard and wonder what you're trying to hide. The last words hit like a physical blow. Maya felt the blood drain from her face, and she saw Karen register the reaction with predatory interest. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Karen took a step closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. What are you hiding under that cover, Maya? What don't you want the neighbors to see? Maya's hands clenched into fists at her sides. The smart thing would be to walk away, to let Karen have her little victory and deal with the HOA complaint when it came. But 2 years of accumulated frustration and something deeper, something rawer, pushed her past the point of strategic thinking. You want to know what's under the cover, Karen? You really want to know? Something in Maya's voice made Karen take an instinctive step backward. But her curiosity was stronger than her caution. Yes, she said quietly. I do. Maya walked to the edge of the pool, her movements deliberate and controlled. She knelt beside the mechanical housing for the cover system, her fingers hovering over the switch. Maya, Karen said, and for the first time, there was uncertainty in her voice. What are you doing? Giving you exactly what you asked for. Maya flipped the switch. The motor hummed to life, and slowly, inexorably, the heavy safety cover began to retract. The black material pulled back like a curtain, revealing the crystal-clear water beneath. At first, Karen stepped forward eagerly, perhaps expecting to find some municipal equipment or commercial filtration system that would validate her complaints. But as more of the pool was revealed, her expression changed from smug satisfaction to confusion, then to something approaching horror. The pool was pristine, too pristine. The water was so clear it looked like glass, and at the bottom, weighted down with diving bricks and perfectly preserved by the chemical balance Maya had spent months perfecting, lay a collection of items that made Karen's breath catch in her throat. A child's pink bicycle, its streamers still attached to the handlebars. A small backpack unzipped, its contents floating near Bakrians. A juice box, a small stuffed elephant. And at the deep end, barely visible but unmistakably present, something wrapped in what looked like a tarp, secured with rope and weighted down with more diving bricks. Karen's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. Oh my God, Maya, what did you do? Maya stood slowly, turning to face her neighbor. Her expression was calm, almost serene, but her eyes held a depth of pain that made Karen instinctively back toward the gate. You wanted to know what I was hiding? Maya said quietly. Now you know. Karen's phone was already in her hand, her fingers fumbling with the emergency dial. I'm calling the police. I'm calling them right now. Go ahead, Maya said. I think it's time. As Karen's panicked voice, Detective Ray Martinez had seen a lot of things in his 15 years with the county sheriff's department, But he'd never had a suspected homicide called in by a woman hyperventilating in designer athleisure wear. Karen Whitmore paced the sidewalk in front of Maya Chen's house, gesticulating wildly as she recounted her story to the first responding officers. "I'm telling you, there's a body in that pool." Karen's voice carried across the normally quiet street, drawing neighbors from there, homes like moths, to a particularly scandalous flame. "She showed me herself. There's a child's bike, school supplies, and something wrapped in a tarp at the bottom. She's been hiding it under that industrial cover for months." Detective Martinez approached Maya's front door, noting the way she stood perfectly still on her porch, hands folded, watching the circus unfold with an expression of resigned exhaustion. Behind him, he could hear his partner, Detective Sarah Kim, trying to calm Karen down enough to get a coherent statement. "Ms. Chen." Martinez held up his badge. "I'm Detective Martinez. We need to talk about what's in your pool." Maya nodded. "Slowly, I know. Would you like to come inside? Or would you prefer to handle this out here for everyone to see?" Martinez glanced back at the growing crowd of neighbors. The Patels stood on their front lawn, whispering urgently. Bob Johnson was recording everything on his phone. Even old Mr. Kowalski had emerged from his house for the first time in months, shuffling closer with his walker to get a better view. Inside would be better. Maya's living room was immaculate and heartbreakingly sparse. The walls held a few carefully chosen photographs of a young Asian girl with Maya's eyes and a brilliant smile. Captured at various ages from toddler to what looked like early teens, the girl appeared progressively thinner in the later photos, her smile never wavering, despite the medical equipment visible in several shots. Martinez had been doing this job long enough to recognize the progression. Childhood cancer, most likely, the timeline of hope and fear and gradual acceptance, written across a mother's careful curation of memories. "Your daughter?" he asked gently. "Lily." Maya's voice was steady but soft. "She passed away 16 months ago, leukemia." "I'm sorry for your loss." Martinez meant it. He had kids of his own. "Ms. Chen, I need you to explain what Mrs. Whitmore saw in your pool." Maya walked to the mantel and picked up a framed photo Lily, at maybe 10 years old, grinning as she hugged a small stuffed elephant. "After Lily died, I couldn't just throw her things away. But I also couldn't stand having them in the house, constant reminders of everything she'd never get to do again." She set the photo down carefully. "The pool was supposed to be for her. We planned it together during her last remission. She picked out the tile, the depth, everything. She was so excited about finally being strong enough to swim again." Martinez waited. In his experience, people dealing with grief needed time to find their words. "When she died, I thought about filling it in, but that felt like erasing her completely. So I decided to make it into something else, a place where her favorite things could be safe, protected. So the items in the pool, her bike, the backpack she carried to school on good days, her stuffed elephant, Winston, things that meant something to her." Maya's composure cracked slightly, and her ashes. "I couldn't bear the thought of putting her in some sterile columbarium where strangers would walk past her name without knowing who she was." Martinez felt his chest tighten. This wasn't the first time grief had led someone to make choices that looked suspicious to outsiders, but it was the first time he'd encountered a memorial quite like this one. "Ms. Chen, you understand that what Mrs. Whitmore saw looked like something else entirely." "I know what it looked like." Maya's voice was barely above a whisper. "No, Karen thought she'd discovered some terrible crime, but I never expected anyone to see it. The cover was supposed to protect her privacy forever." Through the front window, Martinez could see Detective Kim still trying to manage Karen, who seemed to be growing more agitated by the minute. Several neighbors had joined the crowd, their hushed conversations creating a low buzz of speculation. "I'm going to need to verify what you've told me," Martinez said carefully. "That means we'll need to uncover the pool again, document everything, and probably bring in the coroner to confirm that what's in the tarp is actually cremated remains." Maya closed her eyes. "Will it be ... public? Will everyone see?" "We'll do our best to keep it discreet, but..." Martinez gestured toward the window. "The damage might already be done." As if summoned by his words, a sharp knock rattled the front door. Through the glass, Martinez could see a woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair and a clipboard, the unmistakable bearing of an HOA president. That'll be Marlene Hutchins, Maya said with bitter resignation. Karen must have called her. Martinez opened the door to find not just Marlene, but 3 other people he didn't recognize, all wearing the grim expressions of a tribunal. I'm Marlene Hutchins, president of the Willowbrook Estates Homeowners Association, the gray-haired woman announced. We need to speak with Ms. Chen immediately about the serious violations that have come to light. Ma'am, this is an active police investigation, Martinez said firmly. You'll need to wait, police investigation or not. We have residents to protect and property values to maintain. The covenant violations alone, are you seriously talking about property values right now? The voice came from behind Martinez. Maya had stepped into the doorway, her calm mask finally slipping to reveal raw fury. My daughter is dead, and you're worried about property values. Marlene's expression didn't soften. Ms. Chen, I understand you've experienced a loss, but personal circumstances don't exempt you from community standards. You violated multiple covenants, the pool cover installation without approval, the unauthorized modification of your pool, and now we learn you've been using community property for purposes that could constitute a health hazard. Community property. Maya's voice climbed dangerously. It's my pool on my property. Your property is part of Willowbrook Estates, which means it affects all of us. The HOA has a responsibility to investigate any situation that could impact the community's welfare. Martinez saw Maya's hands start to shake and stepped between the 2 women. Mrs. Hutchins, I'm going to ask you to leave now. We have every right to be here. As HOA president, I have a duty, you have a duty to back away from this property before I have you charged with interfering with a police investigation. Marlene's eyes flashed, but she recognized the authority in Martinez's voice. She stepped back, but didn't leave entirely. This isn't over, Ms. Chen. Emergency HOA meeting tonight at 7. Your presence is required. As the HOA contingent retreated, Martinez caught sight of Karen across the street, now surrounded by neighbors hanging on her every word. He could see phones recording, social media posts being crafted in real time, whatever privacy Maya had hoped to maintain for her daughter's memory was disappearing by the minute. Detective Maya's voice was small now, the fight drained out of her. What happens next? Before Martinez could answer, Detective Kim appeared in the doorway. Her expression, Grimray, we've got a problem. Someone called Channel 7. News van just pulled up. Through the front window, they could see a white van with a satellite dish parking directly across from Maya's house. A blonde reporter was already stepping out, straightening her jacket and gesturing for her cameraman to follow. Local woman conceals mysterious items in backyard pool. Martinez could already imagine the headline. Neighbors demand answers. Maya sank into the nearest chair, her face pale. This is a nightmare. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. Martinez's radio crackled to life. His sergeant's voice filled the room. Martinez, what's your status? We're getting calls from the media asking about a homicide investigation in Willowbrook Estates. Maya looked up at him, her eyes wide with panic. Homicide investigation. But I explained, they don't know that, Martinez said grimly. All they know is that police were called to investigate something suspicious in a residential pool. Outside, the news crew was setting up equipment while Karen gestured animatedly in their direction. More neighbors had emerged, creating an impromptu block party of speculation and gossip. Martinez could see at least 3 people live streaming the scene on their phones. Maya stood abruptly and walked to her living room window, staring out at the growing crowd. 16 months, she said quietly. 16 months I've been protecting her, keeping her safe and private and peaceful. And now she turned back to Martinez, and he saw something in her expression that made him instinctively step back. The grief was still there, but it was being consumed by something harder, something that had been building pressure for 2 years of Karen's complaints and HOA demands and neighborhood judgment. You know what, detective? I'm done hiding. I'm done apologizing for how I choose to honor my daughter's memory. If Karen Whitmore wants to turn my grief into a spectacle, if Marlene Hutchins wants to talk about property values while my child's ashes rest at the bottom of my pool, if Channel 7 wants to broadcast my pain to the entire city, ... Maya walked to her front door and pulled it open wide. The reporter immediately perked up, sensing an opportunity. Then let them all see exactly what they've done. The video hit TikTok at 11:47 p.m. By 6 a.m., it had 3 million views and counting. The hashtag Justice for Lily was trending nationwide. The comments section had become a battlefield between people defending Maya's right to grieve and others, questioning the sanity of keeping a child's ashes in a swimming pool. Maya discovered her viral fame when her phone started buzzing at dawn with calls from numbers she didn't recognize. Good Morning America, The Today Show, CNN, Fox News. Everyone wanted the exclusive story of the pool memorial mom. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at her silent phone after declining the 15th interview request. When Detective Martinez knocked on her door, "How are you holding up?" he asked, though her appearance already gave him the answer. Maya looked like she hadn't slept, her eyes red-rimmed and hollow. "I keep thinking about what Lily would say if she could see this," Maya said quietly. She hated being the center of attention. Even when she was sick, she just wanted to be normal. To blend in, Martinez poured himself coffee from the pot Maya had made but wasn't drinking. The coroner confirmed everything last night. "Your daughter's ashes, exactly as you described. I've closed the investigation." "Thank you." Maya's voice was barely audible. "Will that stop the reporters?" Before Martinez could answer, both their phones buzzed simultaneously. Maya glanced at hers and went pale. "What is it?" Martinez asked. Maya turned her phone screen toward him. The notification was from a local news app, breaking Karen Whitmore, woman who reported pool memorial, facing death threats after viral video. Martinez cursed under his breath and immediately called his partner. "Kim, what's the situation at the Whitmore house?" "Not good," came the reply. "Patrol's been here since 4 a.m. Someone threw rocks through their front windows, spray-painted, 'Child Killer' on their garage door. Karen's husband took the kids to his mother's house." Maya closed her eyes. "This isn't what I wanted." "Ma'am, this isn't your fault," Martinez said firmly. Karen made her choice when she called this in. The internet made its choice when it decided to turn this into a mob. Another knock at the door interrupted them. Through the peephole, Maya could see a man in his 50s wearing an expensive suit and the practiced smile of someone accustomed. Two cameras, Maya Chen. "I'm David Brennan from Channel 7. I was wondering if we could talk about offering you an exclusive platform to tell your story, on your terms." Maya didn't open the door. "No comment, Ms. Chen. With respect, your story is already out there. Wouldn't you prefer to control the narrative? We could arrange for a very respectful interview. Focus on honoring your daughter's memory." I said no comment. The reporter's voice grew more insistent. "The internet can be brutal, Ms. Chen. Right now, you have public sympathy. But that can change quickly if you don't get ahead of this story. There are already people questioning your mental health, suggesting that keeping ashes in a pool is disturbed behavior." Maya yanked the door open so hard it bounced off the wall. "Disturbed behavior? You want to know what's disturbed? Camping. Outside a grieving mother's house for a soundbite, turning a child's death into content. Standing on my porch and threatening me with public opinion if I don't perform my grief for your cameras." The reporter's smile never wavered. "Ms. Chen, I understand you're upset. Get off my property, now." She slammed the door and immediately heard the reporter's voice shift, becoming more professional as he addressed his camera crew. "This is David Brennan reporting from Willowbrook Estates, where Maya Chen, the mother at the center of the viral pool memorial video, continues to refuse comment." Maya's phone rang again. This time, she recognized the number her sister calling from Portland. "Annie, please tell me you haven't seen Maya. Honey, everyone's seen it. It's on every news site, every social media platform. People are calling you a hero and a psychopath." In the same breath, Maya sank into her chair. "I just wanted her to be safe. To have somewhere peaceful where people couldn't judge her or turn her into a curiosity. I know, sweetheart, but maybe it's time to consider that Lily doesn't need protecting anymore. Maybe it's time to protect yourself." Before Maya could respond, Detective Martinez held up his phone, his expression grim. "We've got bigger problems. Someone doxed Karen Whitmore, her home address, her workplace, her kids' schoolits all over Twitter." Maya felt sick. Oh God, it gets worse. Someone also doxed Marlene Hutchins and 2 other HOA board members, and ... double quotes. Martinez paused, clearly reluctant to continue. "They got your information too. Your address, your employer, Even your daughter's medical records from when she was in treatment. Maya's blood went cold. Her medical records. How is that even possible? People are determined when they want to be. The point is, staying here isn't safe anymore. You need to consider leaving until this dies down. Leave, Maya's voice cracked. Leave, Lily. Martinez looked at her with genuine compassion. Maya, your daughter isn't in that pool. She's not. In those ashes or that bike or that stuffed animal. She's in here. He tapped his chest. And she'd want you to be safe. Another knock at the door, but this time it was softer, almost apologetic. Maya peered through the peephole to see her elderly neighbor, Mr. Kowalski, holding a casserole dish and looking deeply uncomfortable. She opened the door cautiously. Mrs. Chen, he said in his heavily accented English, I bring soup, an apology. Mr. Kowalski, you don't need to apologize for anything. Yes, I do. His weathered hands shook slightly as he held out the dish. Yesterday, I watched with others. I understand what's happening, but I watch anyway. Like circus, like entertainment. He cleared his throat, clearly struggling with it. Words, my wife, she died 5 years ago. Cancer, like your little girl. I keep her garden shoes by door still. People say is strange, but grief is strange. Love is strange. You do what you must do. Maya accepted the casserole, tears threatening to spill over. That woman, Karen, Mr. Kowalski continued, she called police on my grandson for parking motorcycle in driveway last month. She called city about my roses growing over fence. But you never bother nobody. You just try to remember your baby in peace. He patted Maya's arm gently. I tell reporters, leave this woman alone. She'll suffer enough. As Mr. Kowalski shuffled back to his house, Maya noticed movement across the street. A black SUV with tinted windows had parked directly across from her house. As she watched, 2 more vehicles arrived, disgorging people with cameras and microphones. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We know where you work. We know where you shop. Stop hiding and face what you've done. Detective Martinez saw her face and immediately called for backup. We need patrol units at Maya Chen's address immediately. The situation is escalating. But even as he made the call, Maya was walking toward her backyard, toward the pool that had started everything. The safety cover was closed, hiding Lily's memorial from the world once again. But Maya could feel the weight of all those eyes, all those cameras, all that judgment pressing down on the black surface like a physical presence. She knelt by the pool's edge and placed her palm flat against the cover. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered. I tried to keep them away from you. I tried to keep you safe. When she stood and turned back toward the house, she found Detective Martinez, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. What are you thinking? He asked quietly. Maya looked at the growing crowd of media vehicles, at the neighbors peering from their windows, at the circus her grief had become. Then she looked back at the pool, at the place where her daughter rested in peace beneath layers of water and memory and love. I'm thinking, she said slowly, that it's time to show them what they've really done. An hour later, Maya stood on her back patio, facing a crowd of reporters, neighbors, and curiosity seekers who had pushed their way into her backyard despite police barriers. The pool cover was open, revealing the crystal-clear water and the memorial items resting peacefully at the bottom. But Maya wasn't looking at the pool. She was holding a thick manila folder and staring directly into the cameras. You want my story? She said, her voice carrying clearly across the suddenly silent crowd. Here's my story. She opened the folder and began pulling out photographs, medical records, insurance claims, hospital bills, funeral expenses. The papers fluttered in the autumn breeze as she held them up one by one. This is what it costs to watch your child die slowly. $47,000 for her last month in the hospital. $15,000 for a funeral she was too young to need. $3,000 for the pool cover that was supposed to protect her memory from people like you. The cameras zoomed in on the documents, on Maya's face, on her hands as they shook with fury and grief. You turned my daughter into a hashtag. You made her death into content. You threatened the woman who called the police because she thought she was protecting the neighborhood. You doxed innocent people because you needed someone to blame for your own voyeuristic shame. Maya's voice grew stronger, more forceful. You want to know what's disturbed? It's not a mother keeping her child's ashes in a memorial pool. It's a society that thinks grief has an expiration date that judges how people process loss, that turns tragedy into entertainment, and then acts shocked when real people get hurt. She gestured toward the pool. This is where my daughter Wa